Hey everyone, this is Keith Scott from out in Sydney, Australia. I'm one of the voices of Bullwinkle J. Moose. It's time to watch Relentless and Unstoppable. And so give it up for your main hosts, Douglas Kenny and Andy McPhee.
Yeah, definitely. The more the merrier on IMDb.
Yep.
So, how many extras from each country and how many extras total worked on this?
Oh gosh. I don't remember the numbers because it was a year ago, but probably something like we probably had 200 extra days, 250 extra days, so that's about 200 to 250 extras. With Hallmark, it's always between 150 to 350 extras per movie because there's always
Yeah,
the party scenes, the day, the walking down the street scenes, there's always that type of stuff.
yeah, definitely. What was it like shooting the subplot where the sister of Scott Wolf's character starts to fall in love with one of the Scottish locals and goes through it knowing that in her opinion at that moment that she has to return to America despite their love for the Scottish culture and then figuring out that it's meant for them to be there. What was
Yeah,
that scene like?
well, the romance in this movie was the B plot, and I think I'm forgetting the actor's name. He's going to kill me now, but it's been a long time. But he actually played Braveheart as a child, and now he's a very handsome older actor. I think his name James. James was his name. He played the love interest of Lacey, and that was kind of the side story, but I think it was pulled off very well. Very kind of subtly on the side, but then their characters kind of developed naturally over time. So I think it worked very well, and I thought they had a great connection. And obviously at the end of the movie, when she decided to kind of stay with her brother, and at least part time, who knows what happens in the future in part two if they ever make a part two. I thought they worked out great, and they had great chemistry.
Yeah, definitely. I had no idea he was on Braveheart. I actually just recently saw that movie in full for the first time ever since coming back to from Scotland because I visited Wallace Monument
Yeah, yeah. He
and
you
I
would never know you would never notice him because he was Braveheart as a child in the opening of the movie. The small child, I think probably 8 to 10. That is James. He's just an adult now.
are you saying that he was the actor of the young William
Yeah,
Wallace?
he was young William Wallace. That's him.
That is amazing.
Yeah, he was basically a baby. But yeah, that's him. And now he's the love interest of Lacey in the future. So
Yeah, not everyone can say that they've been in such a great movie as
oh
that, you
yeah,
know.
Braveheart is a great movie for sure.
Yeah, it's very bloody
Yep,
and
yep, yep.
and brutal, but
Yeah,
it gains the emotions out of you.
not a Christmas movie, not a Hallmark movie, that's for sure.
Yeah, like Braveheart actually riled me up in some parts, like let me tell you, the King Edward that was cruel to the
Yep.
Scottish people in that story, you know, the way the actor of that king performed was so intense and so good that it makes you want to reach through the screen and sort of give him a piece of your mind. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
the performances were great in that movie. I haven't seen it in years, but I remember it. It definitely was a very impactful movie.
Yeah, yeah. And it explains why the Scottish and the British have this ongoing rivalry
Yeah,
that is now taken more civilly, but back then it wasn't.
yeah. I'm sure that is still there.
Yeah, it's still there, and it's probably going to be there until one of them either concedes or until Scotland gets independence, because
until
that's what the
until the
movie's
end
about.
until the end of time.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, there's been a few bad guys in cinema that I just sort of go with on the grounds that it's a movie. But
Yeah.
there have been a few that have actually struck a nerve in me. King Edward and that one was one of them. And then I would say the other ones were Lotso from Toy Story 3.
Oh yeah.
And then I would say the other one was Rumpelstiltskin in the fourth Shrek movie. It's like
I don't think I saw
they
that movie.
Yeah, when you have characters like those, you're just sort of like, I mean, you don't like to wish ill will upon those characters, but you're just sort of like, if they kill them off, I won't have a problem with it.
Yeah. That's like I remember when I was growing up, the villains from the 80s movies, they were very two-dimensional, but you couldn't wait for their final scene. And like Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, "You're fired," and does like he blows somebody up. So I mean that was always fun when I was growing up to see those bad guys because they were so bad. A lot of the bad guys now have very detailed backstories. When you know the reason they're bad, they're not so two-dimensional. It's kind of nice to only know them as two-dimensional bad guys.
Yeah, definitely. And the scene with Schwarzenegger with "you're fired" and, blowing up.
Yeah.
I like the play on words because when I was younger and began seeing movies, when I first saw a scene involving the words "you're fired," I remember asking my parents, "Does that mean he's being executed?" And I think if I remember right, the scene was one where the character was told he was fired for spilling a cup of coffee that shattered on the floor. And I just remember hearing the words, "you're fired." And I asked my parents, is he getting killed for that? That seems rather harsh.
Well, I thought you were actually going to go. RoboCop 1 had a similar thing where, the RoboCop he couldn't shoot anybody who worked for government or police or anything like that, and the big bad guy was like, I can't remember, he was like the mayor or something, and he had his gun drawn, and there was like a red over it, and he couldn't fire. And then somebody, like the governor, said to the character, "You're fired," and boop, it went green, and RoboCop was able to shoot him, and he went flying out a window. So yeah, "you're fired" is used in a lot of movies.
Yeah, definitely. So how was the reception of A Merry Scottish Christmas when it aired?
Gee, that's all we have for Relentless and Unstoppable. So tune into the next episode to hear more amazing stories from amazing guests. This is Keith Scott from Sydney, Australia saying so long, and I'm smarter than the average bear. Gee.